the energy of the month, it's play, but move slowly and intentionally enough that you never lose that connection with intuition. Hi, I'm Mack, and this is Spiritual Mixtape, the podcast. Today is our 84th episode, hurrah! And we are doing a July energy update. So a little over a year ago, I started writing energy updates. They were the ways that intuitively I was feeling the energy and the astrology of the world around me. They were a surprise hit. I did them purely from the place of wanting to put out a little light bulb if you were feeling the way I was feeling, so you didn't feel so alone. And what I began to understand is that the more I talked about the energy, the more people found the community and the more we grew. So in this episode, before we take our summer holes, I thought I would leave you with the information that I would want to have over the next 4 weeks. So July overall is exactly what you think it would be. It is bold, it is passionate, it is fun, it is gregarious. But I urge you to slow down with all of that hyped up energy that's going to come in, to stay as best you can grounded, and to trust. The reason why I'm saying to slow down when there's so much fun happening, why would you want to slow down? As someone that traditionally likes to go a million miles an hour, I've kind of been forced to slow down in the last few years to heal my body from burnout and PTSD. But why slow down in this month? Well, it's because of intuition. We can't hear our intuition if we're moving so fast at the speed of light. Intuition is something that is felt in the body, it is heard in the soul, and that is really a slow and intentional experience. What a lot of people don't get is that when we're in a fire sign, like Leo at the end of the month, and there's a lot of planets moving through the fire signs too, fire, burning, energy, movement, that doesn't, like, you would think that wouldn't, it feels counterintuitive to say that fire means intuition, but lighting a fire in your belly is exactly intuition. So the energy of the month, it's play, but move slowly and intentionally enough that you never lose that connection with intuition. So I have two main questions for the month, and they kind of guide the dates that I will be focusing on. But at any point, if there are other dates coming up or you hear about something, go and check my Instagram, my TikTok, or my YouTube for daily updates around the bigger energy signatures as the month goes on. Because we've only got a limited time in the podcast, there's only so many questions I can get to and so many dates I can get through. So I've done my best to highlight the ones I think are going to be very meaningful to you and will hold you through the month. So without any more ados, save, subscribe, keep this episode, refer back to it. That's the idea with it. It's meant to be a resource that is available to you for free and throughout the month. You also might hear something now that you want to come back to, that you want to reference later. So download, subscribe, like, comment, keep, and definitely share with your friends. And if it feels good for you, please consider leaving a review. So let's move into the questions. So let's start with the questions. Is July a good month to manifest? Because I have been feeling blocked lately. Well, mark your calendars. Let's start here. July 5, 6, and 7. July 5, new moon in Cancer. July 7 is a 22 master day. This is when all of the component parts of the date, so 7, 7, 2, 2, 4, add up to 22. But it's also a double whammy because it's the 7th of July, 7-7 portal. So once a month we have repeating numbers in a date. So 1-1, 1st January, 2-2, 2nd of February, 7th of July, 7-7. And as we know, across the board, often 7 is thought of as the luckiest number in the chain. So we're on the 7th of July, and it happens to be a master day falling 2 days after the new moon. So that's all very fortuitous. But here is where we've been really feeling a little out of sync with this moon manifesting. So since March 2023, we've been in a reverse lunar cycle. And this means that the full moon happens before the new moon. So the full moon, literally the full moon, when the werewolves go and howl at the moon. And what is the natural cycle is to have the new moon first. And when you think about this, you plant seeds in the dark. You plant in the winter for things to be ready in the spring when the light comes. That's the same idea with a moon cycle of when you manifest following the moon cycle, you put your intentions in so that they grow with the light of the moon. But we've been in a reverse cycle since March 2023. And next month, so it's not actually on this particular new moon, but next month, it moves back into its natural cycle till, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the date, but it's 2025. So we'll be back into feeling in flow with our manifestations. So as we've come up to the end of this reverse lunar cycle, it may just have felt really out of sync, out of harmony to be manifesting alongside the moon. So that like one time a month when you knew that you could go in, plant your intentions, feel good about things, that's coming back, and you'll start to feel it even more strongly as the cycle goes on. But that happens on the next new moon. So this is like the final chapter, all the action's done. You see the end on the horizon, you've learnt the lessons, you're embodying this new spirit, and you're kind of ready to give people a taste of what book 2 is going to be about. So what's special about this new moon is, this new moon, I love a new moon in Cancer anyway. Fresh start in a water sign that is very emotional, very much about the home, very much about nesting, being in touch with your feelings, being in touch with your family and your friends, the things that make you feel home, safe, grounded. That's very much a Cancerian energy. So I love this new moon, but what's really fun about it is there's all these sort of beautiful transits lying on top of it. Now, this isn't an astrology podcast. This is an energy podcast. So I'm not going to talk about the ins and outs of the planets and how they move. But what I'm going to say to you is this new moon has a bunch of gold dust layered over it. And it doesn't necessarily mean, though, that your manifestation will miraculously come to life on the 5th, but it means it's going to be so much easier to feel into it. But it does come with a caveat. Let's see if I've actually put that next. I haven't. Let me scroll down on my notes, because the caveat, and we'll come back up to the other bit, but the caveat here is that right before the new moon on the 5th, on the 3rd, so this is 48 hours before, Neptune goes retrograde. And this isn't too unusual, but the fact that Neptune going retrograde comes in the window of the new moon. And that also in the window of this new moon is the opportunity to manifest alongside something that has nothing to do with astrology, that has to do with like the numbers and the patterns of our dates. That happens directly afterwards, and directly before we have this retrograde in Neptune, or Neptune goes into retrograde. Neptune is our spirituality, our dreams. And when it goes retrograde, it is our illusions. What personally, intuitively, I feel like you're being asked before this manifestation window is, where in the last 5 years are my goals, my intentions, where have they evolved? And where feels like an illusion, where feels like a fantasy, because it's just not relevant to who I am anymore. Perhaps you were wishing for things that you had no business wishing for. Thinking back to me personally, 5 years ago, I was about to quit a job that wasn't working for me, and my father was making his decision to take palliative care after a long journey with cancer. Who I was 5 years ago, I could definitely see the seeds of who I am now. But what I was wishing and dreaming about were not the things that were going to fulfill me in the version of Daisy that I am now. So can you take what's changed, what's your current reality, what's evolved, asking yourself all of those meaningful questions on the 3rd, let it sit with you, let it marinate. 48 hours later, sit with that new moon and ask particularly about the water aspects, the Cancerian aspects of the new moon. How is my home? How is my emotional body? What has changed with my emotional body? And how that then affects your goals. We all know what we're going after. Even when you feel really, really blocked, you know what you're going after. Inside of you, you have a secret dream. You probably just don't have the self-worth to believe you can actually get it. So take the last 5 years, what has really evolved, what feels like an illusion, and use that information to inform the manifesting day. And then again, let it marinate another 48 hours, and on 7/7, truly bed into those manifestations. I really look, manifesting for me has 5 parts. You release, you write, you visualize, and you speak your manifestation, and then you let it all go and you give thanks. I feel like on the 3rd, you let go. On the 5th, you write, visualize, and speak it. Bring it to life in your mind. And then on the 7th, you create a lot of gratitude. You give back. You put into action the feeling that you created on the 5th. And then you let your manifestation go to work for you. It's funny because I've made tons of notes, but I feel like that is perfect for truly co-creating with the universe. Oh my gosh, my notes further down are so small. Let's just make those bigger quickly. Because I do want to talk about one other date that I would flag. And it doesn't mean that you can't manifest on other dates. Like, follow your heart. We are all intuitive beings, energetic beings. We know when we're at our best. There are definite date markers that come across our calendar where we're going to likely feel better. However, you manifest on the days that feel good for you. But if you've been blocked, I suggest July 5, 6, 7. And I also suggest July 25. Now, July 25 is also a master day. So when you add up the date in its component parts, it adds up to 22. But interestingly for us here, where's my notes here? July 25 is when Mercury enters Virgo. But we are also in Leo season. I know that must be right because I've got a ringing in my ear all of a sudden. So something's happening somewhere that's like, this is a great date to manifest on. So July 25, Mercury enters Virgo. So Mercury, personally and within my practice, I really see people feel Mercury. It's one of the planets that's closest to Earth, and it's all about communication. A lot of my clients work in some level of industry where they need to talk all the time, communicating something all of the time, whether they're in branding, PR, magazines, writers, they're communicators. So it's not a surprise that the messenger of the cosmos is a planet that really resonates within the sphere that I work. When Mercury is in Virgo, it has all of the aspects of Virgo. Oh God, I've also forgot, there's something else about this that I want to tell you. So Virgo is organized. Sometimes in its not so high expression, it can be a little bit anally organized. But when you're going after a meaningful dream and something that is very much a departure from the life that you're living now, you need Virgo on your side. You actually need your most organized friend to come in and be like, you know what? Let me apply some strategy. Let me save you some time. Let me show you where you are burning your energy. That's what Mercury and Virgo is going to do on this natural manifesting day, a 22 master day. Now, two other aspects of this, which are slightly astro talk, but one is that it's in Leo season. So it has this flavor of the lion, right? This fiery, go get 'em, but it's also very magnetic. So it's going to give you your hot girl summer vibe. You're gonna turn some heads. Isn't that great? But the other part of it is that you're also in Mercury's retrograde shadow. So it hasn't quite gone into retrograde. I believe that starts, I want to say August 4, but it could be August 5. And when Mercury goes into retrograde, and I'm going to do definitely another episode about this when we come back into the podcast in August, but Mercury retrograde to me is amazing. Because as you get older, even if you live from a place of no regrets, as you get older, there are things that you look back on that you wish that you could rewrite. Not rewriting history in a way of dismissing and being in denial of what you've done, of what other people have done, but being in a place of hindsight. I want to do better. If my ego hadn't gone in the way. Mercury in retrograde gives you the opportunity to rewrite, refresh, renew. It's one of the greatest gifts from the universe. Obviously, it does it with gives with one hand, takes away with the other, because it does mess up your communication and travel and technology, emails. You will have delays, but a rewrite benefits from going slow. So this is off topic from what we're saying, but it will be in the shadow of that. So you won't be quite feeling all of the aspects or all of the nuances of Mercury retrograde, but you will be feeling, how do I change? How do I revise my manifestation plan to actually bring this manifestation to life? What have I learned since my last lucky days? So that I can now really, rather than just dreaming about this, I can make a cohesive plan. I can make bite-sized, manageable goals so that I am stepping every day towards my manifestation. Right, I hope that has answered, are there any good days to manifest? There are definitely good days to manifest. Like I said, you do you pick the day that you feel best. But these days, July 5, 6, 7 and July 25 are the ones that I would recommend based on really the numbers, really the dates, and then how the astrology sits on top of it. But they do come with this caveat of what have you learned? What are you releasing? How have you evolved? These manifestation days are not letting you wiggle out of being the adult, really acknowledging where you have grown and how that affects what you want. So that's the illusion part of Neptune. Okay, let's move on. So second question, I have a big project I'm trying to wrap up. Do you think there are better windows for creativity in July? I wouldn't necessarily say better, but if there was an important project that demanded a lot of me creatively, or a lot of expected a lot more of me as a professional, then actually the day I would lean into personally is July 11. I love the story of Venus. The thing that I've been learning about over the last 2 years is these crazy journeys that Venus goes on in the sky. She becomes a morning star and an evening star, and I love the idea of constantly being in this rebirth cycle and process, and that you're never committed to just one version of you. You're always going on this path of being reborn. Like you were never committed to the version you were yesterday. You can always literally go to bed and come out renewed, reborn. And that is what Venus does every 18 months. And right now, we're seeing her coming up, her most sassy, her most sensual self will rise into the evening sky, and she'll become this beautiful evening star. So last year, when she was the morning star, it was this idea of fresh and new. And now it's everything you have been embodying comes out with all of those Venusian themes. So Venusian themes are art and beauty, aesthetics, but also creativity. So if you're a creative and you've literally been gathering your skills, July 11 is probably the best day of the year to showcase the place that you have finally come to. So while I wouldn't necessarily say better, because there are lots of lovely windows of creativity throughout the year, there's a lot of really amazing numbers days as well, 22 days. I love an 11 day for creators, but we actually don't have any more of those until October. But there are other days is what I'm saying. But this day, it just feels kind of sexy for creatives, right? And intuitively, I do think that the evening star is like a creative director. Like, she's gone from being the intern that got the job when she was the morning star, where she was just an undeniable raw talent, to being able to hold her own. She doesn't she responds rather than reacts, and she's creative as fuck. Like, she's just this amazing creative director. And here she is, turning up, showing up for you on the 11th. Now, the extra dose that you get on the 11th is that this Venus idea, this your most creative self coming up, she's doing it with Leo being her backing. So to carry on with the idea of like creative directors and directors, I think of this as Leo. When you throw Leo onto this on the 11th, like throw it on the fire, it's like you go from shooting your film, whatever it's about, in a quiet seaside town, to shooting with a full budget and a full crew on the Amalfi Coast. Like you've gone from doing something that is cool and creative to making something that's like Oscar worthy. Yeah, I feel good about that. Intuitively, that feels right. I feel like I don't want to add anything else to that. But like, let's talk about two other aspects of it. So let's leave my creatives there. Like, definitely work on a creative project on July 11. But listen to this. By July 15, you either need to have finished the project or you're willing to put it down, because July 15 is the trickiest day of the month. And I wanted to mention it because if you're like, I'm going to work on this for a week to 10 days, no. The best part to do it is to like use that July 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that sort of releasing and like that Mercury and Virgo energy to plan what you're going to do. And then by July 11, and I'm thinking of something else now that's happening on July 10, but maybe I won't mention it. July 11, you're going to be ready to do the creative work, but you must put it down before the 15th, because the 15th is Mars hanging out with Uranus, and it's going to be kind of explosive. It's where mistakes could be made. It's where accidents could happen. And you just don't want to bring that energy into your work. July 16, you can pick back up again. July 16 is a master day, another 22 day. So it's a lovely day to bed in, finish things off, like put meat to the bones. If you're not doing a creative project, don't switch off on this. July 11 is an incredibly fun, romantic, high point day of the month. It is a brilliant day to connect with loved ones, with your friends. And for any of my single people out there, it is a wonderful day to go on dates. And for anyone like me, old married ladies, it is a great day to be with your partner and just be in each other's vibes. It's a really lovely day, height of the summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, that's that one answered. So thank you for going on this episode with me, the July energy update. Like I said, be sure to drop it into my Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube for more daily updates. You'll find me, Spiritual Mixtape, Daisy Mack. I'm over there having a good time, and I can't wait to meet you. And really drop into my DMs any questions that you have, anything that's resonated with this episode, anything that I didn't cover in this episode that you want to see on the socials, that you want more information on, hit me up on my social media or drop me an email, hello@spiritualmixtape.com. Now, before we wrap up, there are some dates that I didn't get to that I just want to flag to you. The first one is a master date, 22 master date, which is the 16th of July. I mentioned it briefly in the second question, but just so you know, that is going to be a nice day to manifest and be on your journey. The other date that I didn't mention, because it kind of didn't come up with the two questions, but it's the full moon in Capricorn. This is the second full moon in Capricorn, and it's really taken us on a journey. And I love the fact that there's been 2 full moons in Capricorn before we head into the lunar cycle back to being the way it should be. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode that the lunar cycle has been reversed since March 2023, and it now moves into how it should be, or how it's more natural for us to feel it, which is the new moon first, followed by the full moon. So it, for me, having 2 Capricorn full moons. Now, without getting hugely technical here, a zodiac sign has 30 parts, like a month has 30 days. And the first full moon happened basically at at day 1 of Capricorn, and the second full moon is happening at day 29 of Capricorn. So it's gone on this journey through Capricorn, which is a very grounding sign, and you end up with this full moon that, of course, my notes say this. It's about the lessons and the integration and how you ground all of that in. Now, a recurring theme again in the month of July is taking the lessons and how they inform your manifestations. So, of course, the last full moon of the month also ends with that kind of idea in mind. Now, the other part that I don't touch on as much again in the podcast is the fact that we go into this pre-Mercury, or the Mercury retrograde shadow. So this is the part where you start to feel the feels, but we're not into the main drama yet. I personally love this energy as much as it does cause disruption in my life. I love the opportunity of a rewrite. So bear that in mind. You are going to be feeling a little bit of disruption, especially with that Mars-Uranus, which I did mention, coming in on the 15th. So from the 15th onwards, there's definitely a bit of, you could experience some turbulence. Again, don't let that scare you, just let it be a thing that informs you, and remember that the flip side of the coin with the Mercury retrograde is you can rewrite the things that you don't love. It's a gift. It is definitely a gift. And hello, PTSD, burnout, my depleted souls. A day to pay attention to for people who have inflammatory responses like that. Have stress disorders, even mental disorders. Like July 20, Mars enters Gemini. This is really an opportunity to pay attention to your nervous system. So that's why I'm saying anyone that's had burnout, any things like that, you be aware of the anxiety and how to just be ahead of it. Be ahead of it. That's how I take care of myself. I lean in, of course, to breathwork, meditation. Go back, find the episodes that you like. There I have so many free resources. Meditation and breathwork is free to you. Go in, find the resources, and enjoy them. What else do I want to say? Yeah, that's it. I think that's it. So what I'm going to tell you is have the most amazing July. Check back on my socials for any day-to-day activity that you want more information on. We may be on a summer holiday for the podcast, but we are still very much active on our social media. I'd love to see you over there. Say hello to me, and I'm just so stoked. I'm so stoked and so grateful and so thankful that you've been with me on the podcast for 84 episodes. Thank you so much for supporting. I'll see you in August.